WSB. You're listening to our host Roundtable as our election 2024 election night coverage is underway. I'm Chris Chandler here with Mark Arum. We've got Erick Erickson, Eric von Haessler, Scott Slade is here, Shelley, Wynter. So what is the possibility? I've heard this more and more in the last couple of days too. Every single poll has, close. What's the chance it actually won't be tonight?
I think a very good chance. I think the polls are wrong. I think they're undercounting Trump, which he historically gets undercounted in the polling because there are people who answer polls who won't admit to voting for him or keep it close to the vest. And then I also think that there's a groundswell in urban areas. I think the polling is too high for black men in urban areas, but I think it's still higher than normal, and I think you're going to see that come out today also. So I don't know. I'm feeling very good.
Wouldn't the big surprise be if somehow Pennsylvania, like whatever the vote was today, kind of gave you an indication, and it wasn't going to be much from what they had to vote after that? Like, it would depend on Pennsylvania, wouldn't it? As to somehow they just got their results out there a lot quicker than anybody expected, right?
Yeah.
Is that really the only way to know? Is there another path?
There are several for Trump, and that's the problem for Harris. Is she's got to win all the three Great Lakes states, or she's got to win North Carolina, which doesn't look likely based on early turnout. Trump just needs to win one of the three Great Lakes states, and so you do have Wisconsin's probably the worst state to count vote. Pennsylvania is actually a little better, but he does have those multiple paths. And privately this evening, the Trump campaign is cautioning that they may actually see themselves do better in a couple of other states. To your question, Chris, the average margin of error for a state poll is 3.7%. So if it does swing 3.7%, it's not going to be close.
Right.
We just got to balance out the margin of error in the polling.
I saw an interesting analysis, and they went back over many, many years looking at presidential election polling, and the number 6% kept coming up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's how much they missed by, 6%, right. Except for 2020 when it was 4.8%. And that was considered to be the most accurate polled presidential election in our lifetime.
And the other issue there is there, for some reason, and no one can really explain it, there's a psychological issue. It's not one state that does that. All the states at the end always trend in the same direction, and they always have. So if one state moves in one direction, the other states are going to move that way as well, which is why the three Great Lakes states, with only two exceptions, have always voted together. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania always vote together in presidential elections, except for two exceptions in the last 70 years.
And to Eric's point, Michigan, they're pretty good at calling their races early in the evening, relatively early, relative to what we're talking about finding out days later. And if Michigan goes to Trump, which looking at the Arab American vote either completely not turning out, then we'll know tonight if Michigan goes to Trump that she has no path.
So how important is Georgia by the end of the night, really?
I think
16 votes. 16
yeah,
votes.
That's important. Yeah.
But I don't really believe her a swing state. I think that
I don't either.
The Kemp Abrams race, to me, I think that was a weird time, and we had that double thing in January. Trump came in and tried to tell his people it was rigged, but make sure you go out and vote. Right. So I don't trust the system, but make sure you go out and vote. I just think that was a unique kind of thing.
How much has we have two Democratic senators, so it's at least purple-ish. But Scott, how much has the state electorate changed? That, correct me if I'm wrong, Obama didn't win Georgia either time, and then Biden comes and wins it.
Yeah. Well, you can look at the blue hole, as they called it. We're sitting right in the middle of it, these studios right now. And that population's been growing. Gwinnett County, for instance, was a Republican bastion when I moved there in 1985, and now it's not. Things do change, and we've had a lot of intrastate immigration from other parts of the country. And if nothing else,
with all the jobs that are coming and everything,
yeah,
right?
But the thing is,
besides the movie industry and all that, sure, absolutely.
But the thing is Georgia's still a red state. The only reason they call it a purple state is because of the Senate races. And Eric always points this out: 400,000 Republicans did not go out to those two, go out and vote in those two runoffs.
Are those 400,000 showing up today?
There's actually the Republicans are pretty encouraged by the turnout. It was 427,205 Republicans specifically didn't turn out in the runoff in January of 2021. They appear to have been engaged this time. To that point, I tell Republicans all the time, if you look at the map of Georgia and go back to the 2016 Republican primary, Marco Rubio won every county that touched Fulton County, including Fulton County. Yeah. And Trump in the 2020 election lost all those counties, which is why he lost Georgia. He's been working real hard to get them back. I think the Kemp ground game is really pushing people over the edge.
It seems like about 50 years ago, doesn't it? So yeah, it really does. Let's talk about perception of momentum versus what you guys have seen today on the ground. It seemed as if as much momentum as you can have within those tiny margins of error, right? It seemed Trump had some momentum. The stunt at the McDonald's was ingenious, I think, by every account of anybody who knows, politics and what they're talking about. But it seemed like with the Puerto Rico incident, the garbage incident, some of the other things he had said, that things had shifted the energy toward her. And so the question is, may he have peaked too early, but momentum perception versus what you guys may have seen people actually showing up today around the country?
I went to the Macon rally on Sunday, and there's a tremendous amount of excitement there. And probably 80% of those people had already voted. Yeah. This morning I got up early and I drove the different precincts that I knew were heavy Democrat stronghold precincts. 5-6 people going in and out fairly easy. If you listen to our great station all day, Austin was out and about to different precincts. Yeah. And a couple times he said, it's very crowded here. And he says it's about 20 people. On Election Day in a Democrat precinct in Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, 20 people at a precinct at 7, 8 in the morning before going to work is not a lot of turnout.
I think with these things that have happened with the garbage, and a lot of it happened very late in the process after an awful lot of people had already voted. So I don't know how much effect it can have.
Very true.
Yeah, you talk to the Trump campaign, and they can see it in their tracking polls that his momentum hit the brakes after that Monday into Tuesday. His garbage truck, where he did the press conference with the garbage truck, trying to help it. But if you even look at the national polling, you see in the last week a collapse for him, an increase for Harris. What the Trump campaign says, though, is they think they banked enough early votes that there's not enough momentum for her to get across the line.
I think it's interesting to note that we're even debating who is going to win the election tonight after July 13th in Butler. That should have ended the election.
Yes.
Right. And Michael Dukakis might have won had there been a failed assassination attempt. So the fact that it's even within Kamala Harris's grasp is pretty remarkable. That should have ended the campaign right
You're
there.
right. You're right. And the economy should have ended the Democrat campaign. July 21st, when Biden dropped out as the guy that we were told was sane and could stand another 4 years, should have ended the campaign. But Donald Trump has his unique failures, and to the point of garbage, Puerto Rico, all of this stuff. But also, you got to understand, for the first time, Chris and Scott talked about, have we ever seen anything like this? What I've never seen is a media apparatus that is 1,000% against one guy. And you can't say that doesn't block that kind of automatic, it should have been over. When the media themselves said when he got shot, he faked it. Like, there were media outlets, legitimate media outlets, who said he faked
I don't know
that.
about legitimate.
Well, you get past
MSNBC.
once you get past that.
MSNBC.
Well, yeah,
MSNBC.
okay, but
they're
once
legitimate.
As legitimate as Fox is.
Right. No, they're legitimate though. Yeah.
I think with all of these things that people at this point, I don't know that the closing argument of he says crazy things that are offensive. I mean, we've been getting this message for 8 years, so I just don't know how effective that is. 8 years later, somebody goes, "All right, that one was too much for me."
Right.
So it honestly doesn't come down to Trump and not Trump?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, always.
That's what it comes
Just
down
as
to.
before.
When you
I want to talk
almost
more
every
about what Von Haessler just mentioned. What happened to Joy? What happened to How Weird? What happened to Coach Walls? We're going to do that after the half hour here. So I'm Chris Chandler. You are listening to our special all hosts roundtable here from Atlanta's Morning News straight through to the end of the Shelley Wynter Show. We got everybody gathered here until 8 o'clock, and then we'll have our election news coverage start. We got lined up to take you to every important swing state tonight. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, even down to Texas to talk about the Senate race there, whether Ted Cruz might get the boots in Texas. Seems unlikely, but it is something that we're going to be watching tonight. So we'll take a break here, get you the latest election headlines, and then continue with our host roundtable. You can watch on Facebook Live or on the app, or you can just keep listening. We're here at 8 o'clock. You can be spared our mugs if you just listen to the radio, right? We'll be back. It's 6:28.
Delays into Lawrenceville on 316 eastbound. Had a center lane crash live in the jam cam. Just went to the shoulder. 316 eastbound at Sugarloaf Parkway. Slow at I-85 rolling out of Buckhead. Atlanta Fire Rescue still in mop-up mode from a vehicle fire. The ramp from 400 south to Sidney Marcus Boulevard is shut down. Smiley Mark McKay, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies this evening, staying mild with temperatures falling to the mid-60s tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, cloudy with hit-or-miss rain showers, high 74. Thursday, cloudy skies with an isolated rain shower, high 73.
Mark Lloyd and the team at the Lloyd Advisory Group understand that no matter how the 2024 presidential election shakes out, it's going to have a huge impact on your retirement. Now more than ever, it's important that you have a clear understanding of what's at stake with your finances, because as we've already seen, anything can happen. Major election surprises like the ones we've been seeing can potentially tip the balance on our economy. And on top of everything else, we also know our current tax rates are going to expire at the end of next year, and they'll go back up. Do you think your finances are ready for all of this? Well, Mark's election stress test can help find out. Schedule yours today with the Lloyd Advisory Group by calling or texting ELECTION to 770-766-5611. That's ELECTION to 770-766-5611. See how strong your plan really is. Call or text ELECTION to 770-766-5611. Insurance products and services are offered through the Lloyd Advisory Group.
If you're experiencing low-energy brain fog or bloating, then your body might need a detox. Active Liver from New Nordic makes it easy to help your liver detox your body all year long without major changes to your diet or lifestyle. Active Liver is available in stores at CVS or online at Amazon.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 6:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio with an update on election 2024. Just 30 minutes until the polls close in Georgia. Although about 10 polling places in the state will stay open a little past 7 o'clock because of problems earlier in the day. That includes 2 precincts in Gwinnett County, which will stay open for nearly an hour after the 7 o'clock polling time close. They are both at the Mountain Park Activity Building. There were various issues at that location today, so they will stay open for an additional 58 minutes this evening. 5 Fulton County polling locations are staying open past 7 o'clock. And polls stay open an extra 20 minutes at 2 locations in Cobb County because they were delayed this morning.
The poll workers at those 2 particular precincts had difficulty getting the equipment online in time to open the doors at 7 o'clock, so we went straight to the judge and asked for the extension.
Cobb spokesman Ross Cavett says the Mount Perrin Church of God in Marietta and Kell High School in Marietta will be open until 7:20 tonight. With voting underway across almost finished across most of the nation now.
Polls are beginning to close around the nation after a day of high turnout and fake bomb threats in some states. Voting hours have been extended at 5 polls in Fulton County, Georgia. There's an issue in Milwaukee that means some 30,000 votes must be recounted. CBS's Janet Chamblian.
Out of an abundance of caution, they are restarting the count.
This Wisconsin voter is fried.
I wait for it to be done with. It's a little overwhelming.
CBS's Stacy Lynn with data from our early exit polls.
What are voters looking for in a candidate? According to the early CBS News exit polls, the ability to lead was the quality they're seeking the most, followed by good judgment, someone who can bring needed change, and a person they feel cares about them.
Intelligence agencies have warned that there will be more attempts to disrupt results and cause chaos in the days and weeks ahead, and urge voters to watch out for phony videos and ads. CBS News Special Report. I'm Allison Keyes.
And there are a number of threats ongoing right now across metro Atlanta. DeKalb County reporting at least 7 polling locations have been evacuated at this hour. No word yet on the source of the threat, but Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger blamed earlier threats at Georgia polling locations on Russia.
Georgia's not going to be intimidated. The Russia has just decided they picked on the wrong Georgia. They need to pick on the other one in the Black Sea, because we're not going to be intimidated.
He says overall there have been few problems reported across the state. The race for the White House is too close to call when you consider the latest polling in battleground states like Georgia.
Kennesaw State political scientist Kerwin Swint says if neither former President Trump nor Vice President Harris pulls away with a strong lead after the polls close tonight, waiting on the absentee ballot count could take a while.
Georgia's in that situation. Pennsylvania could be in that situation. So if it is close, it could still be another, white knuckle week.
Swint says it's also tough to say just who benefits more from early voting this time around, as there's been strong turnout by Republicans and women. Cheryl Castro, 95.5 WSB.
It is now 6:33 and time for live team coverage of traffic and weather. And triple team traffic starts now with Smilin' Mark McKay.
Still plenty of delays heading to the northern suburbs, Bill, including the ride out of Marietta, I-75 northbound, hitting the brakes of the South Loop. Got a right lane crash up ahead just past the North Marietta Parkway exit 265. 575 thinning out as you head north toward Woodstock. Still have a little delay left over between Alpharetta and coming along 400 northbound, especially around Peachtree Parkway, Highway 141. 400 southbound toward Buckhead. Been dealing with a vehicle fire cleanup shutting down the ramp 400 south to Sidney Marcus Boulevard. Andrew Seco, Coolray Carrier Traffic Center.
Crowded coming out of Duluth on Highway 316. Earlier crash moved to the right shoulder at Sugarloaf Parkway, but we're still seeing those delays backing onto 85 proper. Continue to use Highway 120 till that thins out. Elsewhere, just looking at volume, 85 north and southbound through Duluth into Norcross. You're riding brakes either direction from Beaver Ruin Road all the way down past Jimmy Carter Boulevard. That's exit 99. Triple team traffic, 95.5 WSB.
Now Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast with meteorologist Christina Edwards.
Fair skies this evening. Temperatures selling to the mid-60s for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, the clouds rolling back in and a few hit-or-miss rain showers rolling through the metro region. Daytime high 74. Mostly cloudy on Thursday. A few isolated rain showers possible. Morning low 66. Afternoon high 73. Friday and Saturday, partly cloudy. Morning lows in the mid-60s. Daytime highs in the low 70s.
69 in Roswell, 72 in College Park, 70 in Mableton. More news at 7 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
It is 6:35. I'm Chris Chandler, host of Atlanta's Morning News here on WSB. This is our special all-hosts roundtable. Scott Slade, longtime host of the Morning News, the father of the Carathon, he is here. And then by time slot, Mark Arum, who you hear from 9 to noon every day. Erick Erickson, who broadcasts from Atlanta to the whole country from noon to 3. Eric Von Haessler, who with the Doctrinaires is on from 3 to 7. Shelley Wynter from 7 to 9. And you're going to be on after our news coverage tonight to kind of wrap
12
things
midnight
up.
to 3 a.m.
Yeah, very good.
May I shout out everyone at the Grand Hyatt Buckhead right now and shout everyone out who's listening to us right now. Thank you.
How soon after 8 o'clock will you be at the Grand Hyatt?
Well, traffic going up Peachtree for some reason is backed up all the way to Piedmont Hospital, so I don't know what that's about.
Everybody's trying to get there.
I think that's it, to the Grand Hyatt. So let's talk about what happened to Joy. And I don't mean it to be flip. I mean as a campaign strategy. It seemed at first like to a lot of people, like a refreshing burst of energy and positivity. But boy, it faded. And boy, you didn't see much of Governor Walz toward the end. The Kamala Harris closing argument and really the last few weeks turned dark. For all the talk about Trump having turned dark, hers did too.
I would imagine that's her campaign saying, all right, we're going to throw whatever we can to see what sticks at the wall. I don't know if you guys saw the final campaign ads, the television ads that they released just a couple of days ago. And the Trump one, if he had been running that ad, it was positivity. He had RFK on there. He had it was an amazing ad.
Oh, is that the one that's like president of all people, race, religion, creed? Yeah.
I mean, it was an A+ ad that was released 2 days before Election Day. Like, if they'd been running that, and gosh, we all know how many commercials they've been running, that could have made a difference and maybe jump on that Joy bandwagon a little bit.
I think the Joy thing just didn't work.
Yeah.
I really think this comes down to the choice is her emptiness policy-wise versus his over-the-topness. What can people handle more? And so I think that was a great strategy at first. It's joyful, it's vibes, it's just a party because she doesn't have to answer any policy questions. And then she sat down for a couple of friendly interviews and didn't seem to be able to get through it very well. And so now we've got to get away from the joyful thing and convince people that, there's something that matters to you. She comes off as a careerist and not a policy-driven politician.
It was the mixed message, Eric, inside her campaign because she inherited Biden's campaign apparatus and then brought her own folks in, and maybe there's some internal struggle on how to how to shape this candidate?
Yeah, so one of her top strategists told me when she first came out of the gate, she wanted to pivot herself away from the Biden threat to democracy stuff. And so Joy was kind of a natural fit. The problem was they didn't see measurable movement in their internal polling for undecided voters on Joy, so they shifted to an economic message that they actually think worked for them, that if you paid attention on television stations, the ads moved away from Joy to give us time, the economy's headed on the right direction, and it worked. And then on the flip side, the threat to democracy, abortion stuff was all about maximizing turnout of the Democratic base.
Let me ask Eric von Haessler an off-the-wall question. I don't remember what we were talking about, but on election night 2016, we were rehashing things, and you said, I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton if you put a gun to my head.
Did I say that?
You did. So let me ask about Hillary Clinton. Did this whole current predicament that the country finds itself in start when the Democratic poobahs decided that we were going to be giving Hillary Clinton like a nice gift no matter what, back in 2015?
Well, there is that attitude of entitlement, I think, that is there. It's with Hillary, it's my time, I've been here, and then you kind of got that feeling like, who's this Bernie Sanders? And the party's not going to allow him to get in the way. And if you look at the way Kamala got there, I mean, she was installed. There was no, Biden won the primary. Right. So she was basically, I mean, I'm not going to go so far to call it a coup d'etat or anything like that, but a party has the ability to name their nominee any way they want to. Yeah. But it's happened again where the primary voters have been ignored and their nominee is up there. Does that lead to a little less excitement? Because I wasn't knocking on doors for you during the primary and we didn't have to.
In a vacuum, yes. But after that debate that was held down the street, I think Democrats were like, I don't care who you throw Mr. Potato out there.
I think that was a setup. I said the very next day on the air, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, I think people in the White House could see. No, I could no. Yes, no. I think that they could see that he was not going to be able to do this, and they needed to show the donor class. They didn't have to do that debate. That debate was way earlier than usual. Neither candidate was a nominee yet of their party, and I believe that there was a split in the White House between the Dr. Jill stuff, and they were trying to talk sense to her, and the other people who are the power players. And I think a decision was made. Let's get this debate. If he does well, good on him. If he doesn't, the donor class is going to know that he can't make it.
But the thing is, they told us, everyone, the White House, the media, everybody told us he was fine. We, when I say we, I mean Eric and I and others like us, saw he wasn't for a year before that. Even going into 2020, we saw he had diminished capacity. So the idea to think that all of a sudden July was the day that everyone figured out that this guy needed to step aside is crazy.
Even if Kamala loses.
That's why I say it's a coup, because you knew the guy was demented from way back.
I'm going with the roofie conspiracy.
I like that.
Even if Kamala loses, it was the right decision from their point of view, because after that debate, he was going to lose, and there was no chance of winning.
I have a friend that was in the debate, that works at CNN, that was in the debate hall, and he says that she had to help him down one step very slowly, even to get out. So I know this is.
Is that how it works? The muscles?
I guess. One step. Let's talk about Hillary Clinton, though, while she is here, the current subject. Where is she? Like, literally, physically, the answer is she's on a book tour.
She was at the Fox.
I know, she was down there. But campaign trail.
Was anybody there? Did anybody show up?
Our beloved leader, Ken Charles, was there.
Oh.
Yes, he was. With his wife, I believe, was the idea. Where has she been on the campaign trail? Purposely hidden.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats have enough surrogates. You got Obama, you've got Bill Clinton.
Glorilla. Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B. Why do you need Hillary Clinton with those political hotshots?
A polarizing, much like Donald Trump didn't have George Bush or Mike Pence or any of the other Republican surrogates, Shelley, out on the.
Except those two didn't support him.
Yeah, that was my point.
I give her credit. I think that she did just make a decision early to not do the let's have the first female president. Yeah. She really didn't. She decided not to go down that lane, or her campaign did. And I think for that reason, and we don't know, there might be some bad blood there. I don't know, but I look at it on paper and think she's not going to help. She's not going to help.
That's exactly it.
She showed up at the convention and did a rousing endorsement
Right.
Kamala. And she thought that's enough.
Yeah.
Maybe the Democratic Party's thought.
Yeah, there are a bunch of
enough.
people.
Yeah.
There are a
So
bunch of people in the
Harris-
Democrat Party who do not want her to win. Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Hillary. Hillary does not want her to win because she was supposed to be the first woman president. This woman who is very much under her qualifications in every way, vacuous, empty, not as smart as Hillary, not as experienced as Hillary. She doesn't want Hillary. The last thing Hillary Clinton wants is for this woman to be the first woman.
I think I just figured out how Shelley voted. It took me this long.
It's a surprise.
I voted down ballot.
That's it.
MAGA all the way.
Our host roundtable continues on WSB. When we come back here, we are going to discuss, without any warning in advance, your appearance on CNN, Shelley Wynter.
Absolutely.
And whether you will be invited back, because I have some inside scoop on that, too.
All right.
Which I will pass along. So we will continue here.
What
You're
a
listening.
tease.
Yeah, I know, yeah. You're listening to our election night host roundtable here on WSB. Stay with us.
Georgia, the country, and the world wait to find out who the next president will be.
The most consequential election in our lifetime is over.
The votes are being counted, and as they are,
Count on Atlanta's Morning News to bring you the very latest beginning at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. 95.5 WSB, your 2024 election station.
Do you think you need to renovate your kitchen, but you're worried about the costs? Well, Frugal Kitchens can help you get $1 million looking kitchen for a fraction of the cost and 18 months, no interest financing available. The best part, they can get you back up and cooking in 5 days from the start of construction. Life happens in your kitchen. That's where you build so many memories. If you're like Christy and me, that's why we use Frugal Kitchens, and you can too. FrugalKitchens.com is the website. Go check them out. Don't forget 18 months, no interest financing available. FrugalKitchens.com.
If you had an encounter with the police and feel like you've been treated unfairly, George Stein, the DUI lawyer, can help. George will guide you through the legal system and work to get your charges dismissed. DUI? Hire the attorney that other attorneys hire. GeorgeStein.com.
Yancey Bros says thank you for using us as the place to buy or rent equipment that helps build roads and homes, landscape neighborhoods, and assist on big or small projects. Come join us for fun at Yancey's newly renovated Gwinnett location on Hurricane Trail Road from November 11th through the 14th. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. we will have free lunch, daily raffles for cat apparel, special machine pricing, and much more. Yancey Bros grand reopening in Tequila from November 11th through the 14th. Visit yancybros.com/Gwinnett reopening.
If your dishwasher breaks, you just hand wash your dishes until you have time to get it fixed. But if your roof is old and leaking, that needs to be dealt with immediately. Hey, it's Dave Baker, host of the Home Fix-It Show, for my local experts at Findlay Roofing, the roof guys. Everything you own and love lives under your roof. And if it's long overdue to be replaced, think of Findlay first. Findlay has installed over 65,000 roofs locally, including mine. They've mastered the roof replacement process with impeccable, high-quality work. Findlay's seen it all and replaced it all. That's why only Findlay Roofing stands behind their work with a lifetime warranty on labor and materials at no additional cost. Nobody else does that. And with 0% financing available, it's even easier to take care of your roof issues right now. Get started with the Findlay Roofing free roof analysis. Schedule yours at findlayroofing.com.
Roof. New investigations break on Channel 2 Action News. We get problems solved, plain and simple. Every day we follow the facts.
Started digging, only to find...
Getting you the answers you need now.
We have live. Team 2 comes.
Channel 2 never stops, advocating for you.
An investigation regarding your tax dollars.
We're more than just Atlanta's news.
A warning for consumers regarding...
We've got your back, all over North Georgia. See what's new, live, every day at 4, 5, and 6 on Channel 2 Action News.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com.
646, Smiling Mark McKay and the traffic team still watching delays as you roll through Marietta with a right lane crash in the jam cam, I-75 northbound, north of exit 265. That's the North Marietta Parkway. Still don't have the ramp open in Buckhead. 400 south to Sidney Marcus Boulevard shut down. Vehicle fire cleanup used Peachtree Piedmont instead. We are seeing a thinning of the slow zones through Midtown, downtown Atlanta. Still brake lights, though, 75-85 southbound leaving 17th Street. Checking 285 in the Coolray Courier Traffic Center. Andrew Seco.
New trouble as we're heading west through Sandy Springs. Outer Loop looking at a crash in the right lane as you get to Riverside Drive. This exit 24. It's a little tough, but it's short-lived, so no need for an alternate here. And the rest of the worst of it looks in and around Spaghetti Junction, that 25-85 interchange in DeKalb County. Eastbound side seeing the worst of it. You're on and off the brake pedal from Beaufort Highway down towards Chamblee Tucker Road. It's exit 34. Triple Team Traffic, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies this evening, staying mild with temperatures falling to the mid-60s tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, cloudy with hit-or-miss rain showers, high 74. Thursday, cloudy skies with an isolated rain shower, high 73.
Good evening. Welcome back to our WSB Host Roundtable here on Election Night 2024. It is hard to believe that it is finally here after everything but a stat I used on Atlanta's Morning News today. It seems like forever, but since Kamala Harris got into the race, it has only been 107 days. Barely 3.5 months.
Almost like waiting for Christmas.
It truly is. Scott, you were just telling us about your very, very long day. You have done some civic duty today.
Oh yeah, no, actually I came here.
Yeah.
No, I did not work as a poll official today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I could be in this evening, because when you work as a poll official, you have to be there to set up at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
You have to stay after 7 o'clock at night when the polls close, tear everything down, resecure everything, do all the chain of custody stuff you have to do. Then at least 2 of you have to accompany the sealed ballots to the election office, so there is an uninterrupted chain of custody for those paper ballots.
What precinct were you working out of?
It's a Gwinnett County precinct.
Okay.
Yeah. But actually, I stopped by there today, and I think this is going to be the most watched election in Georgia history. There were 4 poll watchers.
Yes. So,
poll observers
based on your
there
experience, how does that make you feel, knowing that they're looking over your shoulder and not entirely affectionately in some cases?
No problem.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of stuff they cannot do, but they can. But the public has a right to do the same thing, and the public can be there to watch you set up and tear down as well.
Right. And how does it? What do you think about just these extreme polling place security measures we have heard of? I mean, these poor retirees learning kung fu just in case something happens. I mean, the panic buttons and the cameras and all the rest of it. It's not like it used to be, and it's unfortunate. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's not democracy. That's a threat to democracy.
But do you think it's an overreaction in some ways, or do you think it's
well, we'll find out.
Yeah, at this point, it's like, hey, it's like the old adage, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, especially because the Secretary of State's office is going out of their way to let people know, let the electorate know that we're not going to be intimidated, and we will respond. So maybe that'll turn off some of the crazies.
Let us discuss Shelley Wynter's appearance on CNN. It's been seen around the world, made the network news. Regrets.
2 networks.
2. I'm sorry. Very sorry. 2 networks. Regrets, recriminations.
Not at all.
Anything? No.
Not at all. I tell you, the only real regret I have was that I used the analogy up front as opposed to backing into it and leaving it for the end. That's the only regret. The other regret I had was not clipping that soundbite myself, so it went out on my Twitter instead of some random guy's Twitter that garnered about 15 million views.
For you folks who don't know, listening or watching, I commend you to the 6.5 or so minute clip. You can find it anywhere online. It devolved pretty quickly. Did you set out to use that analogy to throw flame?
No, I set out to use that analogy because I thought it was the most appropriate analogy to use. You
do it on your radio show,
right? I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also I used that specific analogy because it was the best way to illustrate what I was seeing on the ground as I moved about during this election season, the people that I saw that were gravitating towards Trump.
By the way,
it wasn't new shtick, though. This is something that you...
Absolutely,
it wasn't. He didn't manufacture it for CNN. My regret is, in 1 second, is that now no WSB radio host is going to get invited to any of these cable news.
And that's where I'll pick up, because that's the problem. You
guys have been here a long time. If you haven't been invited yet, that's not on me.
The idea of that being so shocking, all they do on these 24-hour news networks, every show is exactly the same. They have a different thing, and it's all topics. Here's 8 people at a table. It's all about conversation. And I think this is a problem that we have all the way around, which is too many people telling us what we can't say, what we can and cannot say. You didn't swear. You didn't say anything that was disgusting. You just went into a place that people were uncomfortable with. But isn't that a part of true conversation?
Well,
Do you always
two
have
people were uncomfortable?
Well, right.
That was it, yeah.
Well, yeah, and the two people that were, and it's annoying to me. It's one of the reasons I've kind of checked out of a lot of this, and I don't watch television. I don't watch any of those stations because it's a joke. The idea is we're having discussions all day long, but everybody needs to know what the rules are. You didn't break anything. No FCC commissioner is going to. You were giving your opinion, and what they're saying to you is change your opinions if you want to come here and sit down and talk.
Interestingly enough, CNN not a couple days later had Tavis Smiley on, who said openly that J.D. Vance has mama issues.
Right.
And they all laughed at that. They literally laughed at a man whose mom spent 20 years fighting addiction, who's come out of the other side seeing the light, who is on the stage with him at the RNC, who he's proud of, who he's helped and been very proud of, yet they won't say the same thing about Kamala having daddy issues, whose father we have not seen one time on the stage with her, nor does she talk about.
Chris Chandler, you teased some inside scoop. I want you to pay off the tease so the listeners don't get mad. What did you find out about Shelley's future?
You were not banned from CNN.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow.
By any measure, by any standard.
Well, I tell you, the email, when I thanked him afterwards, I sent an email saying, hey, thank you, hope to do this again. And the email I got back 5 hours later was, oh, no, thank you, we'll let you know. So I think I'm banned. I don't know your inside information, but I think I'm banned.
Maybe from that show.
Right.
Yeah.
What is this analogy that I missed?
Well,
no.
We're trying to stay away from that.
Later.
Yeah. I'll tell you off air.
Later. Involved the words field and house.
I was going to say the same thing. The attitude between the field and the house.
From Malcolm X.
Got it.
And I don't want to spend too much more time with this because Eric made a bigger point. But
I'm looking at Eric's face and cracking.
Look, I am navigating
very
good paths here.
Did you feel that the fellow who was yelling at you in a $3,000 three-piece suit
who was also a deputy director of the DNC.
Totally missed the point you were trying.
Oh, no. His reaction told me that he absolutely got the point.
Yeah.
And another part of why I used it was to flip a common slur used against me on Democrats who are essentially defending the empire, defending more warmongers. I mean, I've never thought Democrats would ever back a candidate who is endorsed by the national security apparatus and retired generals.
All right,
by the way, how many times have you been referred to as Uncle This or That because of your politics?
Countless.
Nobody seems to get offended, right?
No.
All right, that's enough of that.
All right.
Enough of that. You made a bigger point. The things that you're mentioning, the correct language and the correct actions.
It's like throwing Brer Rabbit into...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I'm offended. Now I'm offended.
The Democrats have backed off that quite a bit, or at least tried to. Is it facade for public consumption now? Is it a permanent change of strategy? Has the wokeism for?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, for lack
I
of a
don't
better
believe
word.
anything is for anything other than the want of power.
Right.
If the research says say this and you'll get power, you say that, and if you say the other thing, that's what the Harris thing has been. We talked about it earlier. First it was joyful vibes. You know what? It's not working. So now let's turn it into the economy. People aren't buying it so much. So the last 2 or 3 weeks have been right back to he's Hitler.
It's what the polls say, right? All of a sudden, the border is now, we need to pay attention.
Yeah, Democrats started caring about the border. That was a big part.
Yeah, it's whatever the polls say. But to be fair, not in this election cycle, but for any politician, they look at the polls and go, all right, do I need to adjust my position? But I'd never seen a 180 on the border. Like that you got whiplash on that.
She has done multiple big flip-flops.
Right.
Or how about the price? Can I just ask this? Why is the press allowed this? It seems to me that she's been talking about how she's going to stop price gouging now for 3 months.
Why are you waving at me?
No, I'm asking. You're an authority.
Because you went after us 4 hours.
Why? Has she identified one entity that has price gouged? Has she been asked by anyone? Can you name one grocery chain?
Well,
How
McDonald's
can you?
after Trump went there.
Okay, well, there you go. And then you had the outbreak. But to me, that's what people are sensing, an emptiness that comes along with this. For 3 months, we've been told she's going to stop price gouging. In 3 months, she has not pointed the finger at one entity and said, you're price gouging, because they could prove that they haven't.
Right.
That's my guess, and she doesn't want to deal with that.
I think the disconnect is that we are getting crushed at the grocery, which should be top of mind for everyone that's voting here in Georgia and across the country, while at the same time the grocery chains are reporting record profits.
No, we pushed $4 trillion into the economy
Understood.
in a couple of years, and that's where the inflation came from. If you're in the grocery markets, have a razor-thin profit margin, and if all you would have to do in order to prove price gouging, let's just go into a court of law. All the grocer has to say is, my gas bill is higher, it takes more to get, it costs more to keep the lights on. Once you prove that your costs have actually risen, it's nothing.
Not only that, you're forcing me to pay a guy that's bagging someone's groceries $20 an hour because you want to raise the minimum wage, and then all of a sudden you're saying, "Oh, we're price gouging." It's.
But let's not get away from it. My question is, why hasn't anybody asked her? Can you identify one entity that's doing this?
The emptiness of the campaign. The emptiness of the campaign can be seen. There's a video that just dropped maybe an hour before we went on about her at the DNC headquarters, purportedly talking to a voter, and she turns her phone around to show the crowd, and it's actually the camera showing the crowd behind.
Yeah, but Trump's a goofball too. Come on.
Polls just about to close in Georgia about 90 seconds from now, except for a few that are being kept open a little while later, one of them almost an hour from various difficulties earlier today. We will get the election headlines right now, then our host Roundtable continues just after here on 95.5 WSB.
658, trouble getting out of Sandy Springs on 285 westbound, leaving Georgia 400 to a right lane crash at Riverside Drive, exit 24, and slow through Marietta. Another right lane crash on the northbound side of 75 north of the North Loop, exit 265. Smiler Mark McKay, 95.5 WSB.
Get the WSB radio app.
This story is breaking right now.
Get notifications from your source for news.
If you have the WSB radio app, then you saw the breaking news.
Get the WSB radio app.
Don't miss a thing with the WSB app.
Download it from the App Store today.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
I'm Allison Keys. The first polls in the nation just closed on this election day in parts of Indiana and Kentucky. In an hour, the polls begin closing in other states, including battleground Georgia. CBS News correspondent Stacey Lynn has the first wave of our polling.
According to the early CBS News exit polls, the top issue for voters of former President Trump is the economy, followed by immigration. For those who cast their ballot for Vice President Harris, democracy is the top concern, followed by abortion. Most voters on each side express they're scared if the other side wins. About 7 in 10 voters expect there to be violence related to the results. Stacey Lynn, CBS News, the White House.
This as the presidential candidates make last-minute appeals. Republican Donald Trump.
It looks like we have a very substantial lead. It looks like we have many more Republicans voting today than Democrats.
And Democrat Kamala Harris.
We got to get it done. Today is voting day, and people need to get out and be active.
Now a look at some of the battleground states, including Michigan.
This is Mike Campbell in Detroit, where early morning voters stood in lines, but by late morning and into the afternoon, it was pretty quick to cast a ballot.
It didn't take me that long. I did my homework. I learned from my brother in the past. I got the ballot sample, and I went through and did all the checks and stuff.
Got right in, got my sticker that I voted.
I'm Jim Crisul in Cary, North Carolina. The way Teresa Raybould sees today.
I don't think I have any other choice other than put my faith in the system and the people that are volunteering in it.
All of the presidential and vice presidential nominees have made repeated stops in this key battleground state the past couple of weeks. Jim Crisul, CBS News, Cary, North Carolina.
The White House is far from the only big race on this election day. CBS's Danya Backus explains that control of Congress is also on the line.
Nearly a dozen races in battleground states like Montana, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona will decide which party will support or hinder a Harris or Trump presidency. Arizona State University professor Tom Riley studies confidence in public elections.
The prediction, at least on the Senate, is that the Republicans have a better chance of taking control.
All 435 seats in the House of Representatives are up for grabs, but CBS News estimates only a few dozen are competitive.
Now to Israel. Protest as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fires Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. The two had been at odds over the war in Gaza. Netanyahu cited a crisis of trust in his announcement. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career?
News, weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 7:03, I'm Bill Caiaccio, live in the WSB Election Center. Polls closing at this hour across Metro Atlanta. WSB's Austin Eller reports live from a polling site in Gwinnett County.
Those polls are no longer taking voters who aren't already in line. That does include here at Hopewell Baptist Church in Norcross in Gwinnett County, where voters have started to clear out. Several voters I've spoken with today tell me they're nervous about what comes next, including Kyra Smith.
Historically, we were red, and then all of a sudden we were blue. So I do think that people, regardless of what side you're on, I do think that everyone feels like it's a catch-22. Like, you don't know which way it is going to go.
And that's WSB.
Gwinnett County, Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB.
Thanks, Austin. 5 polling locations in Fulton County will stay open a little later due to threats today, which required brief evacuations. And there are more threats this evening reported in DeKalb County. The FBI says it is aware of threats to polling sites in a number of states, including Georgia. It says many of them are originating from email addresses in Russia, and none of the threats have been determined to be credible. Some polling locations are open past 7 o'clock this evening due to technical issues in Gwinnett and Cobb counties. 2 former lawmakers are weighing in on what they saw as part of a bipartisan voting coalition. WSB's Michelle Wright reports live from the Election Center.
Yeah, Bill, former Democratic Atlanta Mayor Shirley Franklin and former Republican Senator Saxby Chambliss are part of the Democracy Defense Project. Now, the pair toured the Secretary of State Election Center, and both say despite some of those computer issues and threats we've been talking about, things are running pretty smoothly there.
They have a war room back here that is manned by, I don't know, it must have been 50 or 75 folks back there working their rear ends off to make sure that everything was done that was supposed to be done and in the right way.
Senator Chambliss says whoever loses won't be happy, but there was certainly no cheating or fraud involved. Live in the Election Center, Michelle Wright, 95.5 WSB.
Moments ago, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger announces another 1.2 million voters have cast ballots today. That's in addition to the 4 million who voted early.
Will be over 5.2 million. So that, is a record. We never had this kind of turnout before.
He says those early votes have to be reported by 8 o'clock this evening, so we should have a good idea where the race stands going into the evening. In addition to voting for president, voters in Cobb County deciding on a mobility special purpose local sales tax. It would add a 1-cent sales tax to pay for transit projects in the county. Donna is one voter who said she's against the M-SPLOST.
I'm against it. I'm not against public transportation, but we need to fix the system that was currently in place before you sink more money into it. Yeah. Sinking money into something doesn't always fix it.
And in Gwinnett, voters decide on a SPLOST referendum, a 1% tax to fund transit projects. It is now 7:06, and our election roundtable continues in less than 2 minutes. Right now, it's live team coverage of traffic and weather. In the 24-hour traffic center, it's Andrew Seco.
And right now, seeing delays heading north through Marietta, issuing a travel advisory with this crash. We're occupying the right lane, 75 north, just south of Highway 5. That's exit 267, stretching back a few miles. You may want to hop on Highway 41 to dodge those delays elsewhere. Stall in a right lane in Sandy Springs. So many down on the outer loop. 285 westbound. We're at Riverside Drive, exit 24. Making it really tough as you approach the Perimeter Pretzel. That 400 285 interchange approaching the Cobb Cloverleaf. That's 75 285 interchange by the ballpark. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies for this evening. Temperatures falling to the mid-60s for tomorrow morning. Clouds rolling in for tomorrow with off and on rain showers, high 74. Thursday, mostly cloudy with isolated rain showers, high 73.
Right now it's 69 in Loganville, 67 in Alpharetta, and 71 in Riverdale. More news at 7:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
And at 7:07, our WSB host Roundtable continues. Here it's Election Night 2024. I'm Chris Chandler, host of Atlanta's Morning News here on WSB. We are joined by Eric von Haessler, Erick Erickson, Mark Arum, Shelley, Wynter, and Scott Slade. So polls are closed now in Georgia as of 7 o'clock. Let's talk about what little news there is still. We just heard on our newscast that the Secretary of State says turnout has broken a record in Georgia. It's hard to know what it means. What do we think?
It comes down to gender. I think not just in the state of Georgia, but nationally. How many women come out to vote? How many men come out to vote? That's going to be a telling thing. If we start seeing those exit poll numbers as far as gender is concerned, that could be the first canary in the coal mine on this one.
You know, just looking at and you got to be careful until about this time of night looking at exit polling because they don't adjust anything until after 6 p.m. Edison is the media consortium that everyone uses. According to Edison, the number one issue for Georgians by 40%, the economy. Number two at 20% is democracy. Voters asked who better to handle a crisis, 51-49, Trump to Harris.
Immigration, 11% only in that Georgia exit poll. Abortion, 14%. A lot has been made of how much the abortion issue may have been driving this female early voting number that we have seen, which is notable around the country. Do we go along with that?
I mean, you can, but if you're looking at the female vote as a whole and then you take the polling and lay it like an overlay over it, there are a bunch of women that's not an issue for them. They still have to go buy groceries. So.
I have been surprised that it's, to me, just the way that just hearing it as kind of noise and clatter for the last 6 months or so, I have to say that I'm surprised that abortion was not a bigger issue, which makes me, I thought it was going to be abortion from the Democrats, and I thought that was probably going to be the right move for them, and it makes me wonder if they started to see some stuff in the research that said, as you were talking about, the economy is over it, maybe immigration we're seeing in this state, maybe not ultimately, but I was surprised that there wasn't more abortion talk from the Democrats.
It should have been a two-pronged attack for the Democrats, Dobbs and January 6th. All those TV commercials should have been video of January 6th and abortion ads.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought was going to happen.
The problem with that is that it's like the Puerto Rican voters after the Tony Hinchcliffe stuff. You've heard about threat to democracy, and he's a fascist and authoritarian, and all of a sudden, oh my God, now a comedian, not him, is going to change my vote. The problem with the January 6th stuff is it already motivated all the people it was going to motivate. It didn't persuade undecideds who were so much more worried about the microeconomic level of pocketbook issues. I mean, a $1,120 increase in overall household costs from 2021 to now, and the Harris campaign started moving to an economic message at the end they felt comfortable with. They saw traction in the polling, but I think it was probably too late. They went to Dobbs hard in January 6th to motivate Democratic voters, and what we're finding in the data is in the exit polling, married women actually leaned Republican, just as they did in 2020.
And that's because of pocketbook issues. And, at the end of the day, first of all, a suburban mom is not thinking her teenage daughter is going to have a need for an abortion at any point in her life.
I don't know what suburb you live in.
Right. I mean, that's not something she's automatically thinking of. And so it really comes down to, I'm going to the grocery store every single day and I'm paying more. And so that becomes the issue.
If Trump wins, it's going to come down to the economy. I would imagine.
Absolutely.
More than anything.
Economy and immigration.
It's terrible. One of them had a decent idea on how to deal with the economy. When you get right down to it, they're both vague. Other than Trump saying, "I'm going to stop inflation." Well, what? Push the country into a depression?
Yes. Yeah. Let's do tariffs from the 19th century.
Yeah, exactly. And then on the other side, Kamala Harris has been vague on just about everything, including I'm going to support the middle class. Well, that's great, but how?
How?
Oh, geez. This is just in. The Georgia Secretary of State says 15 precincts to extend hours now, 12 of them due to bomb threats. The threats are not credible. We knew of, I think, 2 just until this. A dozen bomb threats. The one earlier the Secretary of State said definitely came from Russia. Somebody has it out.
Yeah, but how? Okay, first of all,
by the way, this is happening in Arizona right now.
Right.
Now listen, there's such a thing as copycatism. This story came early. You got a lot of people, and I'm not here to say it wasn't Russia, and we may very well find out that it was Russia. But what was this? Just the greatest 2-hour investigation in the history of the world? I mean, it's a little quick to say we definitely.
Will this
the
delay
reason
results?
We're saying this is because when you pull up an email header, you see the IP address it came from, and it's coming from known foreign IP
But those can
addresses.
be spoofed by these
They
computer
absolutely
people.
Can be, but what nerd in America is going to spoof through Hungary or the Baltics?
Of course.
But with the extended hours of these polls, will the Secretary of State hold back on releasing numbers now?
No, they will begin counting.
I just got some numbers.
Early vote,
Yes.
yes,
Wait,
definitely.
we need the breaking news sounder, Scott?
Well, no, you don't. It's about 160,000 votes that they've counted so far. Kamala Harris at 48.4. Donald Trump at 48.4. Kamala Harris at 51.1. So
19 out of 159
counties,
local areas.
And then a few hundred votes for Chase Oliver and Jill Stein.
Well, good for them.
Which way does the mirage work? It's the red
so
mirage?
it used to be that it starts off big red and moves blue, and now because they're counting early and absentees first, you'll probably see a more dominant blue spike and it shifts red.
Right.
Keep in mind something too, how quickly this can happen. They're not counting paper ballots. I mean, they're taking the chips out of the scanners and plugging them in at the county elections office, and all they have to do is hit a button, and boom, there
By
it
the way,
is.
just real quick, final exit number for you: Trump over Kamala Harris, independent preference by 20%.
20%.
Nationally?
In Georgia.
In Georgia, okay.
Our round.
And I don't want to.
We got to have a break. We
got
gotta
to
take
go to break.
We do. We'll be back here with our host roundtable. We will continue. The polls are closed in Georgia now. A little bit of problem here with the several. What is it? 15? They said precincts being kept open because a dozen of them bomb threats. The turnout here in Georgia has set a record. That's where it stands right now, and we will be back.
And now we wait.
As the votes are counted, you can count on us.
Listen throughout the night and be sure to tune into Atlanta's Morning News tomorrow morning for the very latest.
This is 95.5 WSB, your 2024 election station.
Motorcycle riders like you are a different breed. You don't just ride your bike, you're obsessed. So if someone causes you to lay your bike down, you need a different kind of attorney, one that understands bikers and their rights. Erick von Haessler here for my friends at Steel Horse Law, the Stein and Karen Law Group, motorcycle injury lawyers who ride. You can trust them on the road and in the courtroom. Steel Horse Law can help you get back on your feet, medical bills paid, and your case resolved. Trust is everything, and results matter. Free case evaluation at steelhorselaw.com.
I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but the cold air is coming fast. That means a couple different things to me and you. Energy bills will be rising and company coming over for the holidays. Dan Watkins here with all Four Seasons garage, entry doors, and windows. It's time to get your house ready for the winter air and your holiday visitors. The good news is that we have you covered for every opening in your home. So call us today to set up a free estimate with one of our amazing sales consultants. They'll help you pick out the perfect garage door, front door, and windows for your home.
You fell in love with her because she's unlike any other woman in the world, so why settle for an ordinary engagement ring you can find almost anywhere? Well, I know a place where you can design your own custom engagement ring. Terra Fine Jewelry Company. At Terra, the styles and designs are endless, and their expert jewelers make it easy to bring your personally designed engagement ring to life. Your bride-to-be deserves more than a cookie-cutter engagement ring, so explore the vast options of custom design rings at Terra Fine Jewelry Company in Beaufort, Georgia. Terra Fine Jewelry Company.
It's my favorite time of year. I love spending time with family, enjoying delicious, nutritious food and bread. That's right, real bread, not the enriched stuff you see on the shelves. This is Sue from Bread Beckers in Woodstock with Sue's Healthy Minute. My family and I were blown away by the health benefits of making real bread from freshly milled whole grains. After more than 30 years in business, we have heard thousands of stories from satisfied customers who found improved health from eating real bread. We invite you to come check out the Bread Becker store in Woodstock this holiday season. We offer a complete line of grains, beans, sweeteners, and more. Our top-of-the-line kitchen equipment or infused oils and vinegars are sure to be the perfect gift for that special someone. Let us teach you how to make your own real bread to improve your family's health. take that first step to a healthier life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
There are a lot of tree companies out there, but only one in Atlanta that has been in business for over 60 years, and that's Heath Tree Service. Whether you need tree removal or tree pruning work done, our certified arborists are experts in all aspects of tree care. If you're looking for quality, professional tree care, call Heath Tree Service or find us online at heathtreeservice.com.
At 717, delays through Sandy Springs. Somebody down big time on the in the Coolray Carrier Traffic Center. Roadwork in the right lane setting up. 285 West, Riverside Drive, exit 24. Delays backing you past the Perimeter Pretzel, the 400 285 interchange. You may want to use 85 South to 75 North and up in Kennesaw. New travel advisory here as well. Left lane roadwork. Somebody down 575 South at Barrett Parkway. That's exit 1. You may want to hop on I-75 to dodge those delays. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies this evening, staying mild with temperatures falling to the mid-60s tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, cloudy with hit or miss rain showers, high 74. Thursday, cloudy skies with an isolated rain shower, high 73.
7:17 now. Shelley Wynter, for those of you why he's hanging up. Shelley Wynter has been on the phone during our break with Killer Mike.
Just breaking down the election.
I understand. And what did the two of you decide?
Well, he was asking me what I thought, and I repeated what Eric told us. Eric, I'm not going to steal the thunder. Tell us what you told us.
Yeah, the data from the exit polling right now is that that Donald Trump is winning 25% of black men. Now, overall, he's winning 12% of black voters. They didn't come in as much. We knew they were going to come in under 30%.
This is Georgia you're talking
about?
Yeah,
this is Georgia.
Jay-Z just texted me. He's not buying it.
Right.
Hey, I've got Vanilla Ice on the phone. Nobody's
No.
But that 30%, if they're not making 30% in a black vote, then it's over.
It's trouble. Kamala Harris is actually outperforming Joe Biden with college-educated voters who are a huge dynamic here. But yeah, Trump with 25% of men, and on the issue of independence, he's got leads by 20%. On the issue of who's better in a crisis, is 51-49. This does look good for him. His campaign's very optimistic.
And this is only for Georgia, just for our listeners.
Let's go back, if you don't mind, Eric, while we have the Encyclopedia Britannica of election data. What was the difference in Georgia for Trump between 2016 and 2020? Where was the erosion or the Biden games? Was it in Cobb and Cherokee? Where should we be looking?
All those northern suburbs, particularly that touch Fulton County. It was Cherokee. It was Forsyth. It was North Fulton. It was Gwinnett. It was Cobb. Those were the big issues. And then when you get down to middle Georgia, it was Houston County, the north end of Houston County, very Republican area. Yeah. It was suburban women in those areas sat it out, and professional upper-income white men sat it out in those suburbs.
So should we be looking at those numbers?
Yeah, I would. And I would actually look at Baldwin County, probably one of the most important counties to look at. That's Milledgeville, because that area does have college-educated voters who commute. It went for Biden. It went for Trump in 2016. It went for Biden in 2020. It'll be interesting to see what it does this time.
So you want to make a Georgia prediction based on what you're seeing?
I'm looking at the exits. I feel comfortable saying Trump probably wins 51-49 in Georgia.
In Georgia, this phenomenon of black men moving toward Trump in bigger numbers than you would would have expected even 4 years ago. Can you explain it to us?
It's economy. It's the economy.
Yeah,
you've got a guy. You've got a working class guy who's got a family to feed, and he's going to work every day, and his money's not going as far as it went 4 years ago. That's as simple as it's as simple as that. Just like a suburban housewife, it's the same thing.
You know, I grew up living in apartment complexes
in Rochester, New York.
Well, not just there, all over Memphis, Tennessee, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and. You know, I think about, everybody at this table I think is doing okay. None of us are millionaires. I don't know, maybe Erickson. But none of us. But, the inflation is an annoyance if you have money. If you live in an apartment complex with 2 kids, a spouse, maybe a dog, listen, That's a different world, and I think that's a world that's never represented on the news. You don't see, and that's the reality. And a lot of people who are voting are in that situation, whether they're black or white or Hispanic or whatever. And if you want to talk about the people who've been left behind in this country, it's the people who live in apartment complexes. So talk about interesting to see how things swing. Everybody wants to put the Trump thing on machoism and all of this, but it very well just might be, you know what? I live in an apartment complex. 5 years ago, I was doing better than I am now.
Shelley, why though? If it's the economy for African American men, why isn't it the economy for African American women? They're still seeing the same inflation that the men are seeing.
It's the same reason, because it's an emotional versus a logical, and I hate to put it that way.
Wow.
I may get in trouble again, but it really is. And that you got on, and two, the men are the ones spending, so the men are the ones that see the economy.
You're practicing for your next CNN.
No. This just in. You actually are banned from CNN now.
When you look economically at the data, black women are now not at parity, but comparable to white women, that they're more likely to go to college, they're more likely to have a job, they're more likely to sustain themselves. And black men and white men, the working class level, and Hispanic men, we got to stop looking at them by race, because economically they're all in the social.
So it's education.
But the thing, and you got to understand, to Chris's original question about black men, you also got to understand those black women, due to affirmative action, were given opportunities to go to college, given opportunities in corporate advancement.
I have really important breaking news.
Go ahead.
College football playoff rankings: Georgia's ranked number 3.
Oregon
number 1. Ohio State number 2.
That's
Georgia
what we really.
That's what we care, ladies and gentlemen.
That's the real 7 o'clock.
So
what about the trade deadline?
Wait, UGA dropped?
UGA is they were predicting.
This is the
to be
first
number
week
2,
of the poll.
But it is coming out as number 3.
That's fair.
Well, I've got a
But
question
what I was
for
saying. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What we're talking about, Republican versus Democrat in Georgia. Is there any chance at all that there'll be any change of power in the legislature?
No.
In Georgia?
In fact, the Democrats had some bad recruiting down in South Georgia. There's a district Biden won at 66%. They picked a Democrat, and only after qualifying did they realize he didn't live in the district. So that's a guaranteed Republican pickup.
And of course, all the House representatives, the congressmen here in Georgia, up for re-election.
Yeah, everything is safe. There are going to be no upsets.
We haven't talked about
aren't expected to flip
the Congress at all. Let's talk about the Congress
the
then
House
for a minute.
Democrats could take control of the House, even as Republicans will take control of the Senate. Jim Banks just won in Indiana, an open seat there, a friend of mine. We're looking at Montana's definitely flipping to the Republicans, as is West Virginia. That's 51 seats right there.
Montana's in a definite flip category.
Yeah, Montana's is, okay. The Democrats pulled their money out a week and a half ago.
So wait, you said you said the Democrats may take the House?
The Democrats may take the House, speaking of the popular vote, because the big swing seats are California and in New York. However, that being said, the Staten Island, Long Island vote today outpaced Manhattan and Queens for the first time since 22, and that's when the Republican wave swept through Long Island. In fact, we've gone from majority of Long Island controlled by Democrats to 0 Democratic congressmen in Long Island right now.
So you think they both might flip, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
the old double flip.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, the better Trump is doing in places like Florida with popular vote, the less likely the House is to flip. But it's going to be close one way or the other.
And we might know about that tonight, at least one of them?
We won't actually know the House tonight, because California will count votes for 2 weeks for the House.
I see. Senate tonight, maybe.
That we will definitely know the Senate tonight.
Okay, very good.
Does anybody remember when you used to know who the next president was, like the night or like the next morning?
So, people say, well, you used to do this, and then Bush versus Gore. So the Congress passed this thing called the Help America Vote Act after the Bush versus Gore thing. And it encouraged states to allow ballot counting after the election, and a lot of states, including California, did. And as they shift to mail-in ballots in western states, where they don't even have polls anymore, you just mail in your ballot, the rule is, as long as it's postmarked on Election Day, as long as it comes in within a week and a half later, you count it. Well, now we're seeing the problem with making it so easy for people to vote by mail, but not encouraging them to go on and mail it back in until Election Day. It drags everything else.
Somebody mentioned George McGovern earlier. I mean, there's a whole generation now, people working here, that think this is the way it always was. George McGovern slaughtered.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter lost.
I was in 3rd grade, and I took it very, very hard.
For many years, you were in the 3rd grade.
I don't think we have to get into that.
No.
I was a slow starter.
Reagan won 49 states, I think, in 1984. You know, and even in later times, Bush and Dukakis, we could all go to bed at 11 o'clock, secure in the knowledge that the sun was going to come up. I don't know. You think that's permanently over?
Oh no, I actually don't.
Yeah.
I think we're going through kind of a political realignment of the country. We have been for the last number of years, and it'll settle itself out eventually in a way that one party's more dominant than the other.
Do you think the laws will have to change, or do you think the laws will change to make it even, to allow it to even out?
I do actually think we're probably going to see there's some bipartisan support in Congress to stop counting absentee ballots, except for the military, after Election Day, because even California Democrats think it's ridiculous. They got to wait 2 weeks.
Right. Because they already know. You pretty much know.
Hey,
right?
look, you have to have your IRS in like by midnight, right? People do it,
Right.
like
Or else.
that's, I mean,
or else.
right.
So about 1 minute here. What about in Georgia? I remember the happy old days when the problems at the Fulton County Elections Office were kind of charming. You know, it was kind of funny, like the sun coming up in the east. Are we always going to be so very important? I miss the olden times when nobody paid us any attention.
And again, I think as we shift demographically, every 10 to 15 years, swing states change. Georgia wasn't. We'll go back to a time where we're not, and other states will. You're going to be seeing demographic trends continuing. Texas will become a swing state in the next 10 years.
Right.
Yeah, that seems.
Is that because of immigration?
Yeah.
Or because of people moving there?
100%.
Migration.
Migration into the state is changing, just like Georgia is.
What about Ted Cruz tonight, quickly?
I think Ted Cruz is going to win. The Democrats throw a lot of money into it. They always lose it in Texas, and it saves the GOP other seats.
So it was wishful thinking?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Ted Cruz is a bad candidate, but he's going to win.
Well, he faced a really bad candidate last time. That
And this guy's,
O'Rourke, wasn't that his last
Colin
person?
Allred is worse.
Yeah, Colin actually has lower name ID than Beto, so I don't see him pulling it off. And the ticket splitting at the top in Texas is slim to none.
Carrie Lake?
Sadly, she may win, and she's like my least favorite candidate.
It got a lot closer toward the end.
It got very close towards the Look, looking at the numbers in Arizona right now, if Donald Trump is ahead in the Election Day vote that it appears to be, he could carry her across the finish line.
Wow. Okay, that would be something of a surprise, at least from what we saw.
And that
a
would be
couple
more
weeks ago.
concerning to me as a Republican than Trump winning, her winning.
Right.
Because then that would tell me that anybody can become a senator in this country.
Have you seen
We will
the
continue
current
after the
crop?
election
Anybody.
headlines at 7:30 here, just 2 minutes from now. Then we will continue our host roundtable here. It's election night on WSB. Stay with us.
It's 7:28, tracking delays through Cobb County and the Coolray Carrier Traffic Center. Roadwork in the left lane, jamming up 575 south, approaching Barrett Parkway. That's exit 1. You may want to hop on 75 proper to save you some time here. Elsewhere, new travel advisory with the roadwork in the right lane, heading west on the outer through Sandy Springs, 285 at Riverside Drive. That's exit 24. I'm Enderseco, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies this evening, staying mild with temperatures falling to the mid-60s tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, cloudy with hit-or-miss rain showers, high 74. Thursday, cloudy skies with an isolated rain shower, high 73.
They said I couldn't do it, but I'm doing it. Hi, I'm Shannon, owner of Scorpion Septic, and I'm changing the septic industry. Customers ask, how do you not charge to pump out our tank with a repair? Other companies charge hundreds for that. What's the catch? No catch. With Scorpion Septic, there's never a pump out charge with your repair.
Take the sting out of septic service with Scorpion Septic. Details online.
ScorpionSepticServices.com. Your attic is like a 5-star resort to critters, and they're ready to move in. Scott Slade here for Breda Pest Management. If critters are creeping in your attic, better call Breda to get a highly trained expert to kick those critters out. Under the Breda Wildlife Guarantee, if any critters return, you're covered at no additional cost. Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters. BREDAPest.com.
Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 7:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio live in the WSB Election Center. Most polls now closed across Georgia. A few, though, in metro Atlanta remain open a few more minutes because of threats at polling places earlier in the day. Fulton County Director of Elections Nadine Williams says some locations are open another 15 minutes.
The managers will remain open. Voters that go to those locations will have to vote provisionally.
Some polling sites in DeKalb County had to be evacuated late in the day due to threats. DeKalb police searched and found no bombs at 5 voting precincts after threats around 5 o'clock today. 2 precincts in Gwinnett County are open for another 30 minutes due to technical issues. They are both at the Mountain Park Activity Building. In addition to President, we are waiting for the results on a mobility special purpose local option sales tax. They would add a 1% sales tax to fund transit projects in Gwinnett, or in Cobb County rather, and voters in Gwinnett also voting on a 1% transit splost. The race expected to be tight all night long in the race for 270 electoral votes. Let's get the latest now from CBS.
CBS News Special Report, Campaign 24.
Polls have now closed in 9 states. CBS News projects when all the votes are counted, Donald Trump will win Indiana, West Virginia, and Kentucky. Vice President Kamala Harris will win Vermont. Georgia is a toss-up, as is North Carolina. South Carolina is leaning Republican. Virginia leaning Democrat. Stacey Lynn has more on the exit polling.
Following the same themes we've seen throughout the campaign, democracy and abortion are the top concerns for Vice President Harris's voters, and the economy and immigration are the top issues for those who cast their vote for former President Trump.
We're watching a number of important congressional races as well. A Democratic congressman from Dallas seeking to topple Senator Ted Cruz. In Montana, Democratic Senator John Tester is facing a tough re-election bid. CBS News Special Report, I'm Cammie McCormick.
And so far here in Georgia, we have 16 electoral votes up for grabs. 7% of the votes now counted. Former President Trump at 57% and Vice President Harris at 42%. Again, just 7% of the votes counted so far. Now, what are the odds we'll actually have a president-elect by tonight or tomorrow morning? Swing states like Georgia will make the difference.
It's possible neither presidential candidate will get a strong enough lead after the polls close tonight.
Talk about a coin toss, and that's got everybody just pulling their hair out.
And Kennesaw State political scientist Kerwin Swint says that could mean a white-knuckle wait for absentee ballots, which could last several days. On the flip side, Swint says the polls may be wrong.
It may not be that close in the final analysis. You may have either Trump or Harris pull away when, say, 5 or 6 of these battleground states.
Like Georgia. Cheryl Castro, 95.5 WSB.
And our election roundtable continues in just a moment. Right now, it is live team coverage of traffic and weather. And in the 24-hour traffic center this evening, it's Andrew Seco.
And right now, seeing those delays heading west on the outer through Sandy Spring. Travel advisory still active with a road worker in the right lane, 285 west to Riverside Drive, exit 24. Stretching you back to the perimeter pretzel, that 400 285 interchange. You may want to use 85 south to 75 north to save you some time. We are slowing and going through Kennesaw with this road work. Left lane knocked out, 575 south of Barrett Parkway. That's exit 1. Delay spot's a little tough, but it's short-lived, so no need for an alternate right now. Just a tap of the brakes as you are moving. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies this evening, staying mild with temperatures falling to the mid-60s tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, cloudy with hit-or-miss rain showers, high 74. Thursday, cloudy skies with an isolated rain shower, high 73.
Right now, 68 in Duluth, 70 in Douglasville, and 68 in Conyers. More news at 8 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
7:34, I'm Chris Chandler, and our WSB host roundtable continuing until 8 o'clock, hashing things out here, yucking it up a little bit before we really start getting the votes flowing in from states around the country, but specifically watching 7 total swing states tonight. Erick Erickson, you are working furiously the laptop.
I got to correct something that I said earlier, that Trump was winning independents in Georgia by 20 points. Actually, it was a 20-point swing. He's winning them by 12 points.
I see. All right. What are you hearing elsewhere?
So West Virginia's already been called for Donald Trump and for Jim Justice, so technically the United States Senate is now 50-50 split, depending on presidential race. We're also seeing Indiana. Jim Banks has won there. That's an open seat. The Republican there was retiring. And in Florida, I'm getting messages from Republicans and Democrats alike that the vote in the Eastern time zone is so massive for Donald Trump, there is mathematically impossible for Kamala Harris to win the Panhandle.
How surprising would that be? Or is
I mean, it would be massive if she won it all. The fact that the Republicans, though, have won Duval County, which hasn't happened since 2004, and Duval County also always votes to the left of Georgia. So Duval County, because the black vote didn't show up as voting for Donald Trump, that's a harbinger, I think, for Georgia. That's
if Trump wins, that might turn out to be a story that is happening in districts all around in the swing states.
We're seeing this in at early voting, that black voters across the spectrum did not turn out at the rates they turned out in 2020 for Joe Biden.
Yep.
Duval's Jacksonville?
Duval's Jacksonville. Okay. And Duval has moved Democrat over time. But also Miami-Dade County, Donald Trump is winning that, which is very hard for them to do.
So it's wildly early, but at what point do you guys think we might be able to say here comes a trend? Big set of polls, swing state polls.
I said it an hour ago.
Well, you're a little bit of a partisan.
8 o'clock.
A little premature.
Me?
A little bit. Pennsylvania closes at 9 o'clock. So at what point do you think we
Pennsylvania's
might?
at 8.
Is it at 8 o'clock?
In fact, if I may, so Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, Vermont, Virginia, North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia are closed now. North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia closed 6 minutes ago. Ohio is going to be interesting because we have that Senate race there. That's a toss-up. And then Pennsylvania closes at 8 o'clock. The rest of the swing states close at 9.
So what you're saying is that if we see numbers like we're seeing, say, in a Florida or Georgia, that will indicate for us.
Do those translate up the eastern seaboard to a place like Virginia, which is already closed, and Trump is getting close in Democratic precincts?
More counties are showing up now in the Georgia count here. With 53 out of 159 precincts, Trump leads Harris 60-40, or actually 60-39 at this point. 60% for Trump, 39% for Harris.
By the way, when you look at where that's coming in, those North Georgia counties that refused to vote early last time are voting early dominantly.
That's where it's coming in from. And we also have a Republican Election Day vote, which I call the Cavalry, which will be counted later on tonight.
Can I bring up something here that I don't think a lot of people, that I think is kind of silently on the ballot, is the influence of the national media. If Donald Trump wins this election, this is after 8 years of the national media telling the American people what a danger he represents to them, democracy, the country. You remember in the 60s.
You're pointing at me again.
No, I'm just saying. You remember that in the 60s, I believe there was President Johnson, I think it was Johnson or Nixon, who said, when I lost Walter Cronkite, I lost the people on the Vietnam War. And so this could be a radical shift where from that sentiment in the 60s to now where the media, the Washington Post, New York Times, I'm talking about the big ones, have been telling people what a dangerous character this is and how he's dangerous to them and an existential threat, essentially. And if he actually wins, it's not just Kamala Harris who loses. I think that the influence of the major media, look at how many people watch Trump on Rogan as opposed to...
If Trump wins today, half the country still thinks he is the worst president ever. So there's still 50% of the country that the media, as you're saying, is talking to and selling newspapers to and selling ads to.
But the question becomes...
But wasn't it just natural that 50% of the people were going to be like that?
But to your point, though, it depends on who becomes part of the other 51% that voted for Trump. You know what I mean? If 50% of the country is Democrat, they whether they believe he's Hitler or not, they're always going to vote against the Republican. Then we take them out of the mix. But if you're looking at a Duval County, to Erick Erickson's point, where people are usually voting Democrat, but they're not turning out for the Democrat candidate, which the media has been telling them that he's Hitler and a threat to democracy, then it becomes an indictment on whether anybody's going to continue to listen to those outlets anymore. And my argument is, I don't think that the amount of influence that they have has ever really been that high since a Walter Cronkite. Thank you. Since a Walter Cronkite.
But to be fair, that this is outside of this election. The old school media is eroding quickly.
Right.
Oh, cable news.
And that's to the point.
Local television, cable news. It's moving to the social medias, to the podcast, the explosion of podcasts and the influence there. So I don't think that the final death blow to the media will be this election.
You think it's been a slow kind of decline the whole time?
But it's gotten a lot quicker in the last 18 months.
Can we all agree that if there was no January 6th, this election would not be close? Correct. The fact that it is so close after that, to me, is pretty stunning.
What does it mean?
I think what it means is that people are obviously unhappy. If he wins, people are unhappy with the status quo. and they're willing to overlook something like that, which, Gary Hart had to bow out of a campaign because he was seen with a girl on a boat.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The flip side to that observation is that maybe many people who watched it have the same feeling and anger towards
the Democrats may have overplayed their hand.
They may have wanted to do it. Hey, I would have done. I'm so angry. I see why you went into that building. I wouldn't have done it, but I feel your anger.
So I said earlier, the county you should watch in Georgia is Baldwin County. Joe Biden won it by 1 point, 66% of the vote in. Donald Trump up 4 points.
And where's this again?
That's Milledgeville.
Milledgeville. Let's talk about the media again. You can't underestimate, though, the number of people that were throwing shoes at the TV when Walter Cronkite was on the TV.
By the way, he was a globalist. He believed in a one-world government. I'm not vouching for him.
He was a radical environmentalist.
Yeah.
He was military-industrial complex and so forth. Not a debate about Walter Cronkite. Right. What you're talking about is more
just influence.
The erosion of the distribution systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
The ideology part. There was a network executive anonymously quoted last week saying exactly what you just said. If Trump wins after what we have done this time, that's it.
Right.
It's kind of true. The phrase mainstream media is stupid. It's not what it meant.
What were the numbers on the Joe? Has Donald Trump ever had an audience for that, for a sit-down, anything close to it? Well, he sat down with Lester Holt. He sat down with all the biggies. Has he ever had, what ended up being, 60-some-odd million people? Those are like NFC. No, that's like double NFC championship game numbers.
And then followed up with J.D. Vance in the multi-millions and Elon Musk in the multi-millions.
What this might mean, if Trump wins, I'm not predicting it or anything, but what it might mean in the future for the Democrats, beyond reassessing why didn't we just get closer to people in that 4 years, it might be that in the future, part of being a nominee is somebody who can sit down and talk for 2 hours or 2.5 hours, because that's now the way that you get showcased as a politician, where it used to be 10 minutes on NBC.
About 1 minute. You can't underestimate. You mentioned Joe Rogan. That's not even the wave of the future. That's here. I mean, I hate to say we are all going into dinosaur territory.
I'm 60. I can wrangle a dinosaur. I'm all right.
As far as that thing goes, he sat with Joe Rogan for 3 hours. Yeah. 3 hours, and they just had a chat. That's all.
If podcasting were new, you've been involved with campaigns, Erickson. If podcast were a new thing, and a candidate said, I want to go on there and I want to talk for 2.5 hours to this guy, wouldn't you say, don't do it? That's it. Do not do it. Now we're getting to a point where it's like, you better do it.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the candidate.
Yeah.
It depends.
Well, I'm saying in the future,
you're right, and the podcast, and if the candidate is
Trump went on Theo Von,
right? But he's a compelling guy. He's a compelling personality.
I'm sorry.
Vance had a tough time on
comedian.
Okay, very good. Theo Von. All right. Time for a break. We're getting some new exit poll numbers here. I'm going to peruse them while we're on our break, and we'll share those here when our Election Night Host Roundtable continues on WSB. We are glad you were with us tonight, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stay with us.
Georgia, the country, and the world wait to find out who the next president will be.
The most consequential election in our lifetime is over.
The votes are being counted, and as they are,
count on Atlanta's Morning News to bring you the very latest beginning at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. 95.5 WSB, your 2024 election station.
Mike Rowe here with a quick question. Is your concrete sinking? Whether it's your driveway, sidewalk, or patio, those uneven surfaces are not just ugly, they're dangerous. That's where AquaGuard comes in, a groundworks company. They use state-of-the-art concrete lifting solutions to prevent tripping hazards. Schedule your free inspection at aquaguard.net/row. And while you're there, check out my latest dirty job. It's a good one.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman of Hoffman Financial Group and the host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading and seeing and living through these days, from potential rate cuts to presidential elections, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? but I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in will work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on portfolio x-ray, or click on full retirement plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Nothing warms your home like natural light. It's time to brighten yours. Add more daylight and bigger views with Infinity from Marvin Fiberglass Windows. Hi, it's Jonathan and Ted from North Georgia Replacement Windows. Our windows come with narrow frames giving you more light. Experience the Infinity from Marvin Fiberglass difference at your home or in our new Alpharetta showroom. Window and door shopping made simple. 0% interest available.
Infinity from Marvin Replacement Windows, yeah!
Your roof has been impacted. Heavy rain, strong winds, damaging storms. Home Fix-It show host Dave Baker here. I recommend you get a free roof analysis from my award-winning roofer, Findlay Roofing. No obligation, no charge. FindlayRoofing.com. Roof.
At 746, seen brake lights through Sandy Springs and the Coolray Carrier Traffic Center roadwork blocking the right lane on the outer 285 West Riverside Drive. That's exit 24 delays, making it a little tough approaching the Cobb Cloverleaf. That's the 285-75 interchange right by Truist Park. Elsewhere, brake lights through Kennesaw. Roadwork still in the left lane, 575 south of Barrett Parkway. That's exit 1. Looking a little tough, but the delay spot is short-lived. No need for an alternate, just a tap of the brakes as you are moving. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly to mostly cloudy through Wednesday morning, lows in the mid-60s.
47 now, and I'm Chris Chandler. You're listening to our Host Roundtable here. It's Election Night 2024 on WSB. And those of you watching on our websites or on our stream saw Erick Erickson get up and take a phone call in a hurry. What you got there?
So the Trump campaign being ahead in Duval County, Florida, and in Baldwin County, Georgia, makes them think they've won both of those states right now. There's concern in Pennsylvania, but they're looking at the number of people still standing in lines. Polls in Pennsylvania close in the next 16 minutes. The number of people still standing in lines in red counties in Pennsylvania, giving them some level of optimism as well.
And is this turnout that would have been this anyway? You sort of mentioned this earlier, Shelley. Is it sort of a red reaction to all these early voting numbers? More Republicans thinking, I got to get out there today. I got to go today.
So a lot of it, they were concerned about vote cannibalization, that people who vote on Election Day have voted early, but they're seeing such big numbers on Election Day, it's giving them some level of encouragement.
And here in Georgia, we had some red counties where there was early votes that were cast, but they were showing that only 18 in one county, I think it was Dawson County, I believe, don't quote me, 18% of the early votes were people that voted early in 2020. So they weren't cannibalizing. That's what the
But basically the Republicans this time around encouraged it, whereas last time they actually
but they were still
discouraged.
Right, but
one person discouraged.
Right.
Yes.
But what you're seeing now is that there's a cavalry to come on Election Day because there's still a bunch of Republican voters out there who still will wait for Election Day.
I will tell you real quick.
Go ahead.
You mentioned Baldwin County, obviously, which we think is the bellwether. Early voting in Atlanta metro counties: Rockdale County, Harris 76%, Biden had 70%. Douglas County, Harris 66%, Biden had 62%. Fayette County 61% for Harris. Trump won Fayette County with 53% in 2020. Now, I don't know if those same number of voters in those counties that voted early, but Harris is outperforming Biden in all three of those metro counties.
Do we have just overall in America and in Georgia more voting than we used to? Are more people voting now than, say, 10 years ago? or 20 years ago. So more people are participating, just in sheer numbers.
Because
sheer numbers.
the information is all over the place. You have the internet, you have the news, you have everything, so people are more involved.
Are we going to depend on AP to call this race like most outlets
look,
have
I got
done
to
over
tell
the
you,
years?
while
will
the
be
Trump
next
campaign
Thursday
is
by the
feeling
time.
confident about Georgia, some of the outside Republican pollsters are not as confident about it as they are. The exit polling looks like there's a shift to Trump. Baldwin County is a good indicator, but you mentioned Fayette County. In those areas, those are some warning signs of the Metro Atlanta area that actually there has been a Republican female shift to Kamala Harris. So they're trying to sort those numbers out. The Trump campaign feels confident, but some others not as confident.
I know this is a heated election, right? And the fevers run high on both sides of the aisle. I can say unequivocally there's going to be one person that is going to love the result no matter what.
Who's that?
That's Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't care who wins or loses.
I agree.
If Kamala Harris wins, then he is the savior of the Democratic Party. He fell on the sword.
I could have, yeah.
He's the legacy, like, oh, my God, what a great American. He stepped aside. So if Kamala wins, he's forever etched in history. And if Trump wins, he goes, I told you so, you idiots.
I got to challenge the presupposition, though, because how do we know he even knows today is election day?
Hypothetically.
Jill will tell him.
When she's feeding him farina. They're like, honey, farina. You told him, honey.
Farina.
You told him.
It's interesting how few times we have mentioned his name tonight or how important he's been to the subjects we're discussing. It's interesting. It's a little sad.
Well, it also makes you wonder, how is this country run on a day-to-day basis? Because I've read some stories once he dropped out that world leaders were talking to each other 2.5 years ago about meeting with him and him falling asleep. And so it's been a well-known thing. So some people say, well, why is he still president? My thought is, well, because the country is still being run by the same 2 or 3 people, whoever they are, that have been running the country for the last 3 years. I don't know about domestic. I imagine Jake Sullivan and Antony Blinken kind of take care of the world stage.
And
I don't
Susan
really know.
Rice takes care of domestic.
I guess.
Which the point is why she may be losing, or I hope, in my case, hope she loses, because if she wins, those same people will run the country.
Well, you're a partisan. You don't want to see them running the country.
I don't. Of course, they're not doing a very good job.
Eric, will we see? Again, it's still so early, and we're still waiting. But will we see the former president take the podium at Mar-a-Lago and declare victory tonight?
Oh, I think we probably will sometime around 11 or 12 o'clock.
Whether it's secured or not.
I think probably.
Okay.
So.
But when he does that, though, Eric, to addendum to Mark's question, when he does do that, is he doing it just for showmanship, or is he doing it because he's seeing things that you're seeing?
I think
it's
he
a strategy.
is going to declare victory even if they tell him there's no chance he wins.
Gotcha.
He'll do it. Yeah.
He's done that before.
Yeah, done that before.
The way that it's supposed to work is that both candidates agree that the election is over, right? You call, somebody
nice
concedes.
Telephone calls. Sure.
Remember when Gore called Bush
you
back?
You don't have to be snippy about it.
You don't have to be snippy. Gore saying.
That's true.
We haven't talked about what may happen next. There's obviously legal maneuverings that'll probably be in motion, by the time any of us.
What about the confidence in this election, though? The confidence in this process.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, I'm not hearing a groundswell of negativity about how things went in Georgia.
That's a
today.
great point.
We'll see.
That's a great point.
You would have heard it by now.
People will manufacture like that video that showed the Haitian guys with Georgia driver's licenses. We now know.
Oh my gosh.
Actually turned out to be a paid plant by a Russian.
I'm afraid to say this, but when I heard you say about the polling places being kept open a couple hours, my first thought was, here's the water leak again. And I feel bad about that because I'm not a conspiracy. You know what I mean? I don't believe this.
You keep mentioning the water leak.
I do, but I feel bad. But this is to Scott's point. We're not hearing a lot of that except from the people who say it all the time.
The night is young, y'all.
Right.
By
very
the way,
true.
171 electoral college votes will be up for grabs in 6 minutes. Alabama, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., Florida, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, Tennessee, and the big one, Pennsylvania.
Going back to 2000, I've had a
Fresh.
really good bead on every single election. 2016 surprised me, but I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense afterwards. I don't have a gut feeling. Like every year I have a gut feeling like, oh, Obama's going to win this. Oh, Bush is going to win. I have
this last couple of weeks. It seemed one way one day and the other way the next day.
Heads or
back
tails
and forth
of it.
and back and forth.
It's a weird feeling. Like I can't say to my friends who are texting me, "What do you think?" I don't know.
But what's interesting is that there's one set of people in this country watching MSNBC right now who are convinced that they can't lose, and there's another set watching Fox News who are being told that you cannot lose. But I think overall, let's not let a few crazies define what's going on. There is some element, not us. I'm not going after the media here, but it's a great story when things go crazy. It's a great story.
Absolutely.
And just because we see a couple of crazies step out, let's not get behind that and say this is a thing that's happening. Yeah. I don't sense it.
One of the best things I've ever done for confidence in the electoral system is to go through this poll official training that I did and work a few elections in Gwinnett County. And I encourage anybody. You don't have to be a senior citizen, okay? You really don't, to do this. Go through the training, go through an election, and then if you've got complaints, you got questions, great, make them. But I think that what I've seen, I have a lot of confidence in the way that Georgia administers their elections. And I know it's different county to county, but they still have the same framework. And I'm very, very encouraged.
So if we sent some of Shelley or Erick's listeners to the training, you think it would be an instructive exercise?
I have been asking my listeners to do that for years.
I've heard you.
Yeah.
I've heard you. It's so instructive. It really is. And
how long does it take?
Make a difference.
I'm kind of lazy.
Yeah, it's about 10 or 12 hours of training, and you have a workshop or two.
I'll just say I know Scott Slade. He told me it was fine.
It was fun. It was great. Hey, listen, I don't want to minimize it because it was a wonderful experience.
Got just a couple minutes here. Let's go around and get a final thought from each. I won't ask for a prediction that somebody can hold you to, but you're welcome to give one. I know Shelley has a detailed electoral prediction. Let's get your final word first.
I think it's a Trump landslide. I really do, and I've thought this since September 16th.
Come on now, give me the numbers. You told me the numbers.
Oh, I think it's two. I think I'm looking at 291 to 240. I can't remember. 291 to 241, I think.
Something like that.
Better hope that math adds up.
Yeah,
that's less than Biden got. That's not a landslide.
I think it's going to be a landslide because I believe he also wins a popular vote by a couple percentage points.
Got to hurry around now. Scott Slade.
I'm not going to make a prediction. I just hope it's definitive.
Somebody wins by a lot.
There
right?
you are.
That's
or
about
at least definitive. Yeah. I don't know by a lot.
That's what I've been saying for a while. It's the only thing whoever wins, win it decisively, and let's get back to work.
You're a patriot, sir. Erick Erickson.
I think it's going to be chaotic because God hates us.
Oh, no.
But do we deserve it?
Yes.
Absolutely. We're world going to hell.
Look, I think Trump actually does win. It's going to be far closer than they'd like, but it's going to be chaos.
40 seconds.
I think Trump narrowly wins Georgia, and because this has been the craziest election ever, Electoral College 269, 269. and it goes to the House, and then whoever
Trump
controls
wins.
the House, Trump will win.
It.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, thank you all very, very much. This is a lot of fun. We'll do it again in 2026 if there aren't still tanks in the streets.
They said this was the last election if there's...
Right.
Both sides
said
it.
Both sides
talking about Oprah
Most
today.
important
Good
of our
Lord.
lifetime.
And I'll be back at 12 midnight.
That's right. Very good. All right. Yeah, you're going to the Grand Hyatt between.
Right.
All right. You folks tune in at 12. Then,
Take an Uber. Take an Uber.
That's right.
All right, folks. So this is the end of our roundtable. Our election coverage continues in just about 90 seconds, where I'm going to run down the hall into the other studio, and we're going to have our experts and analysts, our reporters all around the metro, go to the swing states. We're going to be on all night, so we hope you will stay with us. It is 7:58.
At 7:58, starting to see the brake lights again through Kennesaw and the Cool Ray Carrier Traffic Center. Roadwork blocking off that left lane, 575 south of Bear Parkway. That's exit 1 and over to Sandy Springs, where we're seeing the right lane knocked out due to some roadwork on the outer 285 westbound, pushing you along past Riverside Drive. That's exit 24. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies this evening, staying mild with temperatures falling to the mid-60s tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, cloudy with hit-or-miss rain showers, high 74. Thursday, cloudy skies with an isolated rain shower, high 73.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Coming up to 8 o'clock here, I am Chris Chandler. Our election night coverage continues. We are going to hear from our reporters scattered all around the metro here next. A big set of polls closing at 8 o'clock and then 9 o'clock. So the voting numbers are going to start coming in hot and heavy here as we continue. Get the race calls possibly at the top of this hour as well. And we'll hear from CBS, and then we will resume here on WSB. It's Election Night 2024.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Polls have just closed in several more states, including Pennsylvania. CBS News projects former President Donald Trump wins Indiana, Kentucky, and West Virginia. Vice President Harris wins Vermont, and CBS News characterizes Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina as toss-ups. These men voted for Vice President Harris, telling CBS Evening News.
I think she fits more what I'm looking for into a leader.
She would make history if she wins. This would make history for the world.
Voter turnout has been heavy across much of the battleground state of North Carolina, where this woman voted for Trump.
I have trust in him for our country.
A lot of first-time voters cast ballots today, including at Marquette University in Wisconsin. CBS's Allison Keyes.
18-year-old Tim cast his first ballot and says it's a big deal.
I really feel like my voice is being heard, even though it's one vote.
He was initially turned away from the polling place because he was wearing a Trump Vans t-shirt and political attire isn't allowed at the polls, but he is proud of Trump.
I think he did better for our country.
And being from Texas, Tim says.
I really think the biggest thing for me is immigration.
Allison Keyes, CBS News.
Earlier, Harris had dinner with her family and will spend election night at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. More from CBS's Nancy Cordes.
When will she come out and speak? We don't know. It all depends on the returns, I'm told by top aides. Also depends on what Donald Trump does tonight. Does he preemptively declare victory before all the votes are in or before all the votes are counted? What do they do then? I'm told that they are prepared for a number of eventualities.
I'm Wendy Gillette at the Trump Watch Party in West Palm Beach, Florida. Supporters are slowly filing into the Palm Beach Convention Center after undergoing tight security screenings. They're taking pictures in front of a sign that reads, "Make America Great Again," and lining up in front of the stage to get the best view if former President Donald Trump shows up as expected later this evening. There are women in formal wear and bikers in vests covered with Trump patches. They all say they're optimistic and are absolutely sure Trump will win.
CBS's Jerika Duncan has the latest on the presidential vote in Michigan.
We reached out to a spokesperson from the Trump campaign to ask them how they're feeling about Michigan, and they simply said, quote, "We feel great."
CBS's Stacey Lynn with what the early CBS News exit polls reveal.
The early exit polls show that a majority of voters on each side say they're scared, not just concerned, if the other side wins. About 7 in 10 voters expect there to be violence related to the results of the election. And while most voters express confidence that the election is being conducted fairly and accurately, Harris voters are more confident than Trump voters are.
This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Looking for a career path with flexibility, great pay, and benefits? Go to progressive.com/careers and apply online today.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 8:03, I'm Bill Caiaccio live in the WSB Election Center. The early votes coming in from across Georgia in the race for president, with all of the polls now closed. Now we have 33% of the votes in across Georgia. Former President Trump has almost 56% of the vote right now, and Vice President Harris is coming in with 44% and about 0.5% for other candidates. Again, that is with 33% of the votes counted. We are posting all of the results, immediate results coming in at WSBradio.com. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger says we should soon be seeing results from around the state. WSB's Michelle Wright joins us live from the Election Center with the latest.
Yeah, Bill, there were about 15 precincts around the state that had to remain open past 7 p.m., a majority of them because of threats, which is something that frustrates the Secretary of State.
I'm frustrated as an American that people would threaten other Americans, and so or threaten, just question the safety, and so that's what frustrates me. But we work through it. But our heart goes out for our voters, and that's what our concern is.
Raffensperger says despite those delays, we should start to see how things are shaking out pretty soon.
By 8 p.m. by state law, they are required when they close on time to have it 1 hour after they close. So yes, you'll get a lot of results really quick.
Reporting live in the Election Center, Michelle Wright, 95.5 WSB.
The total number of voters casting ballots in Georgia is expected to top 5.2 million, which would be a new record. This voter in East Cobb talks about what's important to him.
Jobs, cost of living, wages, those kind of things.
Kai, a voter in West Cobb, says it's his first time voting.
We have a voice, and this is probably a neck-and-neck election, and I think that the vote really matters.
In addition to voting for president, voters in Cobb County will also decide on a mobility special purpose local sales tax. It would add a 1% sales tax to pay for transit projects in the county. And in Gwinnett, voters deciding on a SPLOST referendum, a 1% tax to fund transit projects. It is now 8:05, and our special election night program begins in less than 2 minutes. Right now, live team coverage of traffic and weather. And in the 24-hour traffic center this evening, it's Andrew Seco.
And right now, seeing the brake lights starting to fill in once again through Sandy Springs. Roadwork starting to jam me up. We're in the right lane on the outer 285 west to Riverside Drive. That's exit 24. And we got that slow spot up in Kennesaw with the roadwork here. Left lane knocked out 575 south. As you approach Barrett Parkway at exit 1. Bit of a delay spot. No need for an alternate right now, though. It is short-lived, so just a tap of the brakes as you're moving. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Fair skies for this evening. Temperatures falling to the mid-60s for tomorrow morning. Clouds rolling in for tomorrow with off and on rain showers, high 74. Thursday, mostly cloudy with isolated rain showers, high 73.
66 in Suwannee, 67 in Powder Springs, and 70 in College Park. More news at 8:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
A campaign of our lifetimes reaching its climax tonight, but of course the question, will we have a winner by the time the night is over? Good evening again. I am Chris Chandler. I have moved down the hall here, untucked my shirt, and we are beginning the second act of our election night spectacular with Kennesaw State University professor and political scientist Kerwin Swint, who has helped us every step of the way. Professor, thank you so much again. And you have actually been paying attention to election developments while we've been yucking it up down the hall. So what are you seeing early on here?
Well, I mean, it's early. Trump has taken an early lead in Georgia. We've had some of the usual suspects reporting for both Trump and Harris, Alabama, Oklahoma, places like that. What I'm watching right now is North Carolina to see where that goes over the next hour. And then we'll be taking a close look at places like Pennsylvania, which just closed.
Getting that time. CNN has just projected that former President Trump will win Florida, Oklahoma, Missouri, Tennessee, the District of Columbia, the state of Maryland, the state of Alabama, the state of Massachusetts. Polls are closed in 16 states total around the country. I don't see necessarily anything on that list that is a surprise.
No surprises yet. And so I'll be looking at the margin in places like Virginia and New Hampshire also. I mean, those should be Harris states, but if Trump plays it close in either of those two states, that could mean a big night for him.
All right, Brett Pulley is the Southeastern Atlanta Bureau Chief for Bloomberg News. Man, this is your debut on one of our election spectaculars here. We are very glad to have you with us. Thank you so much for your time.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
We were just discussing on our roundtable the happy old days when we could go to bed at 11 o'clock at night and everything was all settled, right? Do you miss the days when nobody really cared about Georgia? We could go to bed happy without the eyes of the world upon us, right?
Yeah, I've heard a few people sort of pining for those days around here. It predates my time in Georgia, but I have heard that was the case. For me, it's been like all eyes on Georgia. I've been here about 4 years now, and it feels like the campaign has been going on here the entire time. So it's, you figured 2020, we finished that, and it took, 7 or 8 days to declare a winner here in the state. And then, of course, we know what happened as a result of that. The president calls allegedly looking for more votes, and that leads to indictments here. And not to mention, this is also the place where the current president was like the proverbial deer in the headlights during the debate.
Just down the street from the radio station. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's right. So, it just kind of, it kind of goes on and on here. So it's, it's amazing, and it looks like yet again the state will be pivotal this time.
It's true, Professor. We have played, I think, even by our standards, kind of an outsized role this time, huh?
Yeah, we're not used to that.
No.
Right? We're used to just listening in what other states are doing.
Now, the Secretary of State here says we will have the Georgia results tonight. They have promised that repeatedly, including again today. We won't have everywhere in the country, though. And both you guys, I really want to emphasize that is nothing nefarious. And in this day and age, it's not even anything unexpected.
Well, it's really different from the way it used to be. And, and part of it is the mail-in balloting, which takes longer. You've got to unwrap the ballot. You got to process it. You got to load it in the system. That takes long. And so Pennsylvania, for example, they're going to take some time.
Automatically, right?
Yeah,
just the way the votes are counted. Actually, explain that. It could be several days, just as in 2020.
Well, yeah, just like 2020, Pennsylvania is one of those states that takes its time. So they're not allowed to start even processing those mail-in ballots until today, where Georgia could do it a few days ago. So they got a head start on them.
Brett, I would ask you about our exciting Georgia races tonight, but there's very little here compared to 2020 and 2022, especially Fani Willis up for re-election as Fulton County DA, the Trump prosecutor who has been mired in a personal scandal, which turned into a professional scandal. We've got 3 ballot questions here. I'm always interested to see Lucy McBath is up for re-election in a different district this time. She has proven remarkably resilient and remarkably popular, so I'm interested to see what happens with her tonight. But I don't know that we're going to see much of a surprise or much real drama with our statewide races, such as they are.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it. It's interesting. You mentioned the challenge that Fulton County DA Fani Willis is facing, and I can't imagine that the results will show that it's ultimately much of a challenge. But it has been interesting in recent days. I guess she felt enough heat, probably as a result of some of the personal travails that have played out. She certainly felt enough heat to do some advertising down the stretch there. So it's interesting, and I would suspect that if not for some of those troubles, that probably would not have even been necessary, or maybe she would not even have a challenger in Courtney Kramer, who's running against her. And it's interesting. You figure since 2016, when Donald Trump won the state, he really hasn't done that well in Georgia. I mean, he got close in 2020, but as we know, not close enough. And then that turned into this sort of political soap opera here with the tension between he and Raffensperger and the tension between he and Brian Kemp. And then in 2022, as a result, he runs someone against Kemp in the gubernatorial primary, David Perdue, and got beat pretty bad. And he runs Herschel Walker against Raphael Warnock at the same time, and he gets beat pretty bad. So as of late, he has not fared that well here.
All that leading up to tonight. Just now, NBC News says Georgia is too close to call. Thus it stands at 8/12 election night on WSB. Brett, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, and we will continue.
And now we wait.
As the votes are counted, you can count on us.
Listen throughout the night and be sure to tune into Atlanta's Morning News tomorrow morning for the very latest.
This is 95.5 WSB, your 2024 election station.
New investigations break on Channel 2 Action News. We get problems solved, plain and simple. Every day we follow the facts.
Started digging, only to find...
Getting you the answers you need now.
We have live. Team 2 coverage.
Channel 2 never stops advocating for you.
An investigation regarding your tax dollars.
We're more than just Atlanta's news.
A warning for consumers regarding...
We've got your back all over North Georgia. See what's new, live, every day at 4, 5, and 6 on Channel 2 Action News.
Skip the hassle and sell your home with the strongest cash offer this fall. The guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate is the easiest way to sell your home. It's Erick Erickson, and with the guaranteed offer, you can skip the uncertainty, sell your home fast for all cash in as little as 21 days. Mark Spain Real Estate's been serving families for nearly 30 years and has helped over 58,000 satisfied clients. Trust the top real estate team in the U.S. to sell your home fast and for maximum profit. Go to markspain.com and find out what your guaranteed offer would be and start packing.
It's my favorite time of year. I love spending time with family, enjoying delicious, nutritious food and bread. That's right, real bread, not that enriched stuff you see on the grocery shelves. This is Sue from Bread Beckers in Woodstock with Sue's Healthy Minute. My family and I were blown away from the health benefits of making real bread from freshly milled whole grains. After more than 30 years in business, we are more than a kitchen store. We are a real food store where you can get everything you need to make real bread for your family. Come to the Bread Beckers store in Woodstock this holiday season. We offer a complete line of grains, beans, sweeteners, and other whole foods, and check out our top-of-the-line kitchen equipment, including grain mills, pressure cookers, freeze dryers, and more. Our infused olive oils and vinegars are a huge hit. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff will help you find the perfect gift. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Do you know the secret to losing fat permanently? Hi, I'm Dr. Taylor from Be the Younger You Atlanta, and I know the secret. Our anti-aging program makes it easy to lose weight, regain your health, and for many of our patients, reduce or even come off their medications, all without drugs, surgery, prepackaged meals, or injections. No counting points or calories. And you feel great while losing it, because if you're doing it the right way, you should feel great.
Hey, it's Shelley Wynter for BeTheYoungerYouATL.com weight loss program. With the holidays right around the corner, I suggest you call 770-415-3000 or go to BeTheYoungerYouATL.com and sign up for a free consultation. You don't want to get caught big and heavy during the holiday season. Go to BeTheYoungerYouATL.com or call 770-415-3000.
Call us now to schedule your free consultation and take advantage of our 20% off fall special. Call 770-415-3000 or go to BeTheYoungerYouATL.com. That's BeTheYoungerYouATL.com.
At 8:15, I'm Bill Caiaccio live in the WSB Election Center. Results starting to come in from across the state now. At this hour, former President Trump leading Vice President Harris in Georgia. We have 42% of the votes counted statewide. Former President Trump now at 56%, and Harris is at 44%, 0.6% going to other candidates at this hour. We will keep you posted. It's all right at WSBradio.com as those results come in. And our reporters are watching the results come in across Metro Atlanta this evening. Our live in-depth team coverage begins with WSB's Veronica Waters at the Fulton County Election Hub.
Hey, good afternoon, Bill. I am live in the Fulton County Elections Hub right next to the glass-walled section called the Fishbowl, where once the precinct's memory cards from across the county are checked in, they come here and are uploaded and tabulated in this section. Just a little while ago, Fulton County's election staff put on this massive jumbotron where you can actually see the results as they come in, and they're scrolling up the screen. There was a really nice scene just a few moments ago where you could see everyone sort of with their standing near the screen with their heads tilted up on the wall to sort of watch the results as they slowly turn in. Now, we did get some numbers from the Fulton County Elections Director, Nadine Williams, who says that there were 92,700 votes in person today on Election Day. As of about Monday night, some 26,000 absentee ballots were accepted. Of course, there were still some more that will come in on the mail run and be that were turned in today by 7 p.m. And then, of course, the overseas ballots, we don't have a number on those yet, but those have until Friday to get in. Provisional ballots also will still be tabulated. But the 417,000 people who voted across Fulton County during these previous weeks of early voting did break an all-time record for Fulton County. They expect that as the results are now coming in around 8 p.m., just as predicted, that we could see most or all of the county's ballots completely counted by midnight. Reporting live in Fulton County, Veronica Waters, 95.5 WSB. Now let's check in with Jonathan O'Brien, who is watching the campaign at the Trump Watch Party in Buckhead.
And we seem to be having some technical problems with Jonathan's feed there, so let's throw it now to WSB's Steve Summers, who is with the Democrats this evening. Steve.
Yeah, Bill, I'm at the Hyatt Regency in downtown Atlanta. A little more than 100, maybe up to 150 of the faithful just a few minutes ago seated around tables of 10 each, enjoying some prime rib, cable news up on a couple of giant screens, and pop music blaring in the background, as you might be able to hear. This has kind of turned into a dance party, as much of a celebration of all the hard work that's been done by Georgia Democrats, the people at the grassroots level and up the ladder from there. We were talking about, or you have talked about, Bill, where we stand now with the percentage of votes in Georgia going to each candidate, roughly 57 to Trump, 43 to Harris. Executive Director of the Democratic Party of Georgia, Kevin Olasanoy, says despite that pretty big number, and it's a pretty big stretch at this point, a lot of the urban center votes have not yet been counted. And after all, it's hard to believe things would change this radically after the polls consistently have had this race pretty close all along, with Trump leading up by a bit, but many times within the margin of error. What we're getting ready for once this party kind of breaks up a little bit is the chairman of the Georgia Democratic Party and Congresswoman Nikema Williams, and still to come a little bit later in the evening, Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens and Georgia U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock. Reporting live from the Hyatt Regency in downtown Atlanta, Steve Summers, 95.5 WSB.
And we'll have more of our election night special with WSB's Chris Chandler coming up in just a moment, 8:20 on 95.5 WSB.
At 8:20, looking at some delays in DeKalb County. Somebody down I-20 eastbound to the Coolray Carrier Traffic Center. Roadwork popping up at the left lane as you pass Columbia Drive. That's exit 66. Delays starting to look a little tough. Meanwhile, over the area, use Glenwood Road. Elsewhere, roadwork still active in Kennesaw. That left lane still somebody down. 575 south, the Chastain Road. That's exit 1. I'm Andrew Seco, 95.5 WSB.
8:20 now. I'm Chris Chandler. Our